Welcome in. Happy Labor Day. Today is Monday, September 2nd. And as you can see, I am in beautiful Las Vegas. Was able to catch the LSU-USC game. We'll tell you all about it. Of course, I'm here to not labor much. The only labor I'm putting in will be over here with the food and at the blackjack table.
Sports, comedy, pop culture, and everything in between. By idiots, for idiots.
While Adam's getting busy in Vegas, they're getting a little frisky over there at Bucker's.
Sports, comedy, pop culture, and everything in between. By idiots, for idiots. Welcome, sinners. This is Sports Idiot Nation.
Welcome in, sinners. It is I, Adam Marino, as always, joined by Miles Behind Enemy Lines and Mr. T.I. And yes, as I mentioned, I'm about to get a Nathan's hot dog. You guys just take over the show. We'll see you next week. No.
Pick me up a hot dog, dude, and I'm hungry.
Right? So I thought, honestly, we had a bit of technical difficulties, and I was just like, you know what? Why don't we? There's nothing more Idiot Nation than just going with it. And hey, I'm in Vegas. You're going to hear some background noise. We're going to talk some sports. We're going to talk everything that's going on. But yeah, there's a lot going on. I'm in the food court. I'm staying at the Flamingo. Man, what a game yesterday. I, as a UCLA fan, do not want USC to do anything good, but I'm happy for my conference, the Big Ten, I guess. Is that what I'm going with? But yeah, lots of stuff going on. Give an update on Ricky Pearsall. I'm sure you've heard the 49ers rookie receiver was shot and the bullet went through his body. Very crazy. Just lots of stuff. College football. Remember to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I say Twitter because there was a really funny tweet that we posted regarding college football that there was a combined TI. What was the score, bro? To 0.
Unless I was using my Cheatham County math, I think it was 131 points.
No,
331 points.
There you go.
See, like I said, Cheatham County math.
So between 5 or 6 different schools, they were outscored this weekend a billion to 0, with a few teams only giving up 3 points and winning by over 50. So that was pretty incredible. At some point, we got to talk through the idea of some of these teams. Miles, tell us about some of these scheduling snafus that you're even changing how much time is added to the second half clock.
Oh my God. So I don't understand why schools continue to schedule Bishop Sycamore High School for games.
For the blind.
Right. We had one Northern American university who got beat down so bad. The score was 70-0 at halftime. And playing Stephen F. Austin down in Texas, the athletic director for SFA, Stephen F. Austin, had to get with the North American University, wherever that is. No one knows. No one really cares. Somewhere in North America. It could be in Mexico. It could be in Guadalajara, for all I know. 70-0 at half. They met up and they said, we're going to play, no, not running clock. We're not going to cut it to 10-minute quarters. We're going to play just a 10-minute half. So the game ended 70-0, just as was. Who gets anything out of that? Adam, you and I coach AAU basketball. We've been on both ends of it. We
running
got blown
clock,
out.
all
We've done the
this,
blowout, all that, and it gets to a point where it gets so ugly, you just make yourself susceptible to injury. So it's like, what's the point of this? Why do you schedule a lowly NAA school, the Stallions, I think they're allegedly called? I still think it's BS. Hi, Bishop Sycamore. They came back just in new uniforms, better uniforms.
Was that
They didn't belong. They didn't belong. It was ugly. There's no point of it. Injuries could have occurred, but no one got better that day. I can tell you that.
But they instituted the mercy rule. They threw the mercy rule out there. Well, let's just give them 10-minute halves,
Yeah.
Call it a day. So is it who they have next week? Do they have Grand Canyon University on the schedule next week?
Hey, now that's actually a competitive school. They're actually honest. GCU is actually
that's
honest
an
in
online
saying
university, though, right?
they
From
say
Phoenix?
they are a for-profit school. They're the only ones out there that are honest and say, hey, we're actually for-profit. And you can trade it on the stock market. Every other school, no, we're not for-profit. They have these billion-dollar endowments.
Yeah. So
Grand Canyon U. I see their commercials all the time. I get a lot of emails asking me to join their their master's program. So yeah, I figured they were for profit.
Go Antelopes.
all right, so let's talk more college football. A lot of games. First, the most recent one that was just late last night. It truly was a good game as far as football goes. Right in Vegas. It was super cool. Shout out, first of all, I will say to the LSU fans, because as you know, geographically, Nevada, California, like 10-hour drive, not that bad. LSU, the Bayou, very far. And I'm not hating. I think it's probably a fact that there's more people per capita that make more money in California than Louisiana. I'm just stating a fact, right? So I thought it would be a sea of red as I'm walking through the town and as I'm, going from hotel to hotel, went to Caesars, just hung out, and talked to a lot of people. And it was a sea of purple. It was crazy. They really showed out. So that was kind of cool. They're great people to talk to. They're delusional, but they were great people to talk to. They're like, we're going to destroy USC. And then as soon as they found out I was a UCLA fan, we're going to destroy you a few weeks later. Now, that part, they're not delusional. But Vegas, a great host city, obviously. This is my first time here. A lot of Raiders stuff, too. Like, it is cool. The city obviously has a ton of billion stuff going on. But let's talk about that game. Miles, what were the turning points for you? And let's go over some of the targeting calls. Targeting calls throughout the entire weekend, by the way, we'll get into. But, Miles, what were your turning points for the USC-LSU game?
I mean, I think the number one thing that jumps out at anyone is when Kurt Herbstreit had his dog Ben up in the press box.
They kept going
He
to
is
that.
he is the chief happiness
Officer,
the
yes.
Yep, the CHO. And once USC fans got a sniff of him, it flipped the game on a dime.
It was over.
It was over. On a more serious note, man, that one-handed snag by Kyron, I believe it's pronounced Kyron Hudson, was incredible. And then he followed it up on the last possession of the game to get him into field goal range, and then got his head knocked off and still held on to the ball. That's not necessarily the turning point because that won him the game, but that first catch he had. Week one, if he had to give out a Heisman Trophy after week one, I'd give it to him just for those two catches.
Well, we'll get into Colorado later. There's a guy over there that made an argument too. T.I., did you see the opening drive of this game?
I didn't see the opening drive. I got into it late. I got into I guess it was 13-17 when I got in, and when I started watching, USC scored, and it was 2017.
The reason I asked is because my turning point, dude, was the very first drive of the game. LSU is going like a hot knife through butter, and all of a sudden it's 4th and goal, and they don't get any points, and that shifted the whole game, in my opinion, because it was like, uh-oh. And by the way, my very first bet in Las Vegas, victory for me as I took the under, 66 points, which also I'll say, most sports books were giving out 64 points, and I got 66. I'm like, hey, 2 points could be the difference. Now, obviously, we know the final score did not come close to 66, but before the game, 4 hours beforehand, I placed that bet, and I'm thinking in that first drive, I better hedge my bet. Like, they're going to drop, one team's going to drop 50. like already, then the stop happens. Then at the end of the first quarter, it's like 0-0. I'm like, oh, I should have bet $900,000 on that.
So let me ask you a question though. So I know USC missed a kick early. Do you think Lincoln Riley in the end was thinking about that? I mean, do you think that was the back of his mind? Like, I want to go home. I don't want to fool with this. I mean,
interesting, Miles. What do you think about that? We were talking about going for the touchdown.
I didn't expect it to end like that at all. I mean, I was just like, all right, okay, that's one way to do it.
Right, and I think the biggest thing is he's thinking about that as LSU's marching down the other way to try to take the lead at the end. He's considering that. Now, of course, they do get the stop, and history took its course from there. But I think in that moment, for your specific question, that final LSU drive when they were down by 3, that's where the thought is, ooh, I may have made a mistake here. But hey, he was mistaken that he made a mistake. So everything worked out for USC in the end there.
And
we all collectively don't feel bad for Brian Kelly, right? I mean, come on,
remember he changed his voice.
I was going to say him and his 5 accents. He's got an accent for every day of the week. So
yeah, dude, that was wild.
Yeah.
So that was like when Hillary Clinton went down to the Black Caucus and I was too tired. I come too far. That's Brian Kelly talking in front of the gym of a bunch of LSU students.
The good thing about having a podcast is there's no FCC regulations or no one to cancel us. So keep in mind, the most fun way to watch is on YouTube. Be sure to like and subscribe. So let's get into more college football. I want to talk Colorado because we talked Heisman and a guy who plays both ways and scores all those touchdowns. And the reason I brought it up is that catch is pretty solid, too, that he had. But they only – and, again, check out some of our posts, Sports Idiot Nation, because we're pretty active dogging Colorado. T.I., are you over it with the hype? Do you enjoy it because it's like it's fun and entertaining? Where are you at?
I mean, look, everybody has an opinion. I have an opinion. ESPN, they find certain stories and they just drive them into the dirt. And no offense, Adam, I know you're a huge fan of the Warriors, but it used to be Steph Curry and the Warriors. Yeah. Then it was LeBron, and 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 then again it was LeBron. But now it is Deion Sanders and it is Colorado. And again, I'm not knocking their opponent. I mean, everybody's like, well, they've won all of these championships and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, that's great, but Colorado should have blew them out of the water. They didn't. ESPN is sitting here talking about how, like, they just won the national championship. And it's just, can we just pump the brakes and let's check back in with Colorado in about 5 weeks when they probably have 3 losses. Like, let's just be real about that, Again, I'm not knocking the talent on the team. I mean, they're fun to watch. But there's a lot of players that are fun to watch that don't get the hype that this mediocre team gets. And until they do something impressive, like, I don't know. I'm not over it by any means because I will digest college football and pro football until I'm laying in my casket. But I don't get the hype. Deion Sanders is a very profitable name. I get that. That's a lot of hits on your website, a lot of engagement. I like some of the nicknames people have given him. The Bruce Lee of bullshit is one of my favorite lines I've heard anybody say. I know that Denver Post reporter is a kind of a piece of crap, but he's spot on with that calling of the Bruce Lee of bullshit, So I'm not over Deion Sanders as a person, but I am over Colorado as a whole being hyped until they've done something. Like, do something first, then hype them up.
Miles, jump in.
All right. So, T.I., you started with the Warriors. We got to go back further. We got to take it to the college football era of 20 years ago, Tim Tebow. Now, look, so many people hate on Tim Tebow. I obviously never a Tim Tebow fan because my number 2 team is Tennessee. No fan of Florida, obviously. But it is not Tim Tebow's fault that ESPN was up his ass and down his throat. But at least Tim Tebow, along with Steph Curry, along with LeBron James, what do they all have in common? They've all won championships. Ti, to your point, Colorado hasn't done a damn thing. They're a combined 5-8 over the last 2 seasons, season and a game, including a 5-point win over, yeah, sure, they're the best FCS program of all time, better than App State, better than Georgia Southern, better than James Madison. Doesn't matter. You're Colorado. You're supposed to be a team competing for a playoff spot. You got to beat North Dakota State at home by more than 5 points. So all of this overhype just because Deion is absolutely absurd. And honestly, it's really not fair to the kids. Deion, whatever. He's an adult. He's a multimillionaire. He does bring a lot of it on himself, and that's fine. It's actually good for his brand, but it's really bad for guys like Travis Hunter and for his sons, quite frankly, Deion's sons. I mean, I think it puts way too much on them. We expect way too much out of these 18, 19-year-olds than what they truly can do. And that's fine. But ESPN needs to learn how to guide their attention. Tim Tebow, again, they're all over him as a 19, 20-year-old, and he drives all this hate. ESPN drives all the hate, rather. And Tim Tebow's just out trying to worship his Lord and Savior, win some football games, and go home at the end of the day and not have sex, you know. And he still wins a national championship as a starter, arguably the best single season for a college quarterback of all time. Wins another national championship a couple years earlier as the backup. But at least the kid's a winner. Colorado, come on. You got to do some more than win a game by 5 to get what ESPN is doing to them. Again, it's on ESPN, it's on Deion. I kind of feel for the kids, though, at this point. They'll say in front of your face, they'll say in front of the cameras that they love this, but come on. The reality is they get sick of it. They just want to go out and ball.
No, nobody wants uninvited added pressure. Nobody wants that. I mean, come on.
So that is a huge key point, though, that Miles brings up, is that the other times that we're discussing, at least they were winners. So let me ask you this. In the too early to talk about, but it's fun to anyway, who are your 4? I know we can discuss 12, that's officially, but who are your 4 college teams that have shown, like, okay, they're not my favorite team, but I have to admit they look really good, and if they are not in that Final Four when the dust settles with the buys and the this and all that, I will be very shocked. As it's too early to tell, but Miles, who are your 4?
So this is really hard because of how the rankings go. So 3 of my 4 teams are all from the SEC.
It's too early. We're admitting that, but we're just having fun.
Right. So really to say 4 teams, it's kind of a mixed bag because there's one team in here I think is going to be in they're not a top 4 team in the country, but based on the conference they're in, how the automatic bids work for the top 4 buys, and how their schedule lines up, I think they're going to be in the top 4 at the end, and that's Miami. Miami is not a top 4 team, borderline top 10 team right now, but they're going to win the ACC. They're probably going to go 12-0 because their schedule is as trash as Notre Dame's, and they're going to automatic. And we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah,
but Miami's going to be there. Now, my other 3, only one of them can get a top 4 seed. So we're looking at Georgia, duh. Texas, duh. And I'll tell you what, a lot of people are like, well, Texas played a nobody. No, Colorado State's going to win 7-8 games this year in the Mountain West. Colorado State has the roster to be a solid team. Texas took them to the woodshed. Texas looked good. They look scary. Georgia is on high alert right now. The other one I was surprised, again, truly playing a nobody in Western Kentucky. Bama did what they had to do. I was thoroughly impressed with Kalen DeBoer's first game with Bama. Again, it's hard to measure against competition like that, but you can't ask more from anyone than beating someone 63-0. That's a fellow FBS program. So those are the 4 that I think really stood out. The 5th, Notre Dame, only because, well, 2 things, not only 2 things. They cannot get a top 4 seed because they're not in a conference, how the rules work. But Notre Dame's schedule now, after passing that test, whatever test that was, they didn't even play that well and still won by 10 on the road. Notre Dame's schedule is hot garbage. Their best game
USC
left.
Later, the last game of the season.
Yeah. So USC showed that they're good. They're going to be 11-0. Before that USC game, their best game is no longer Florida State. It's Georgia Tech now.
Yeah,
Notre
yeah,
Dame's
yeah.
toughest game now before USC is Georgia Tech. And Notre Dame, regardless if they beat USC or not, they're going to be 11-1. That's still going to be good enough to get them in the 12-team playoff. So Notre Dame, by default, has to be in the conversation only because their schedule is so abysmal. Similar to Miami, I think Miami's a better team than Notre Dame now. But those are my true top 4. 3 in the SEC. Ohio State, not impressed. Oregon, you suck. You suck. Everyone's all over Dylan, the transfer from Oklahoma.
Hey,
The first, I
41
believe,
for 49 passing.
yeah, and they still only scored 24 points on Idaho. If my Indiana Hoosiers beat Tennessee aside, my number 1 team, if my Indiana Hoosiers only beat Idaho by 10, I would cry. And guess what? They played Idaho the last 2 years, and shitty IU, beat the bricks off of Idaho. Idaho is not just an FCS school; they are a bad FCS school. Oregon, you better figure it out and figure it out fast, or you are going to fall from grace real quick and not even make the playoff.
Oregon's problem is they lost their quarterback for the last 10 years. I mean, they don't know what to do. They've had Bo Nix for like a decade, and they're just like, what do we do? Kind of tough. They'll figure it out.
Maybe Herbert has a brother or something. So, T.I., who are you liking so far?
Oh, man. Miles named off like pretty much every team that I would have said, but just to kind of throw a wrench in it just to have fun. No, I mean, I need to see him. I believe in Hugh Freeze. I think Hugh Freeze can put up some numbers, but I need to see their defense against a real opponent before I'm going that route. But what I will say is I agree, USC, of course, because, we saw what they did last night, and we don't know how capable LSU is yet, but they're always LSU. They're always a threat. They're always a respectable opponent. So I will say USC for sure. As much as it makes me want to throw up in my mouth, we got to talk about Notre Dame. I agree with Miles there. And always, as a SEC fan, I'm always scared of Georgia and Alabama. But one of my dark horses I'm throwing in there, as much as it pains me to say, is I'm kind of interested to see what Ole Miss is going to do. They looked good, man. God, they looked good. I thought they were going to put 90 points. I did. So I'm interested in that. And then, I mean, I guess between Alabama and Georgia, I'll say Georgia, just because, I can't give Alabama praise in week 1,
T.I., to your argument, too, Georgia's a better football team. So
100%.
That's just your answer right there. Georgia's the best team in the country right now.
And I liked seeing Miami. I liked seeing what Miami did. They looked like a different team. I know they were ready to put the throat on Florida. I mean, put their foot on Florida's throat, but they reminded me of that team that got off on the plane wearing fatigues. Like, they looked scary, They looked scary.
The second and third quarter, they outscored them 31-7. You're welcome for those stats.
So yeah, those would be my one. But to play devil's advocate, I mean, what? How many are there? 45 teams in the ACC now. So
yeah,
I mean, who knows what could happen? But yeah, I would have to say USC, Georgia, Notre Dame, and Miami, and then maybe dark horse Ole Miss. I don't know. So, that's kind of where I'm at.
Here's some quick trivia. I'm gonna bust out on Miles. Can you name every team in the Big Ten?
Okay, so starting from east to west, we've got Rutgers, we've got Maryland, we've got Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan State, Indiana, Purdue, Northwestern Illinois, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa, Nebraska. Then the 4 out west, we've got Washington, Oregon, USC, UCLA.
So how many total teams are there?
Is it 18 right now?
18 is correct.
Yeah. So as a caveat to that, so 18 that compete permanently, there are 20 teams that are of Big Ten teams in other sports. 1, Notre Dame, and 2, Johns Hopkins. The more you know.
I did
Lacrosse.
not know that.
Now you do.
So,
You're welcome.
all right. So let's move on to, of course, I'm a Niners fan, but this was pretty huge, like a huge story. First round pick from Florida, Ricky Pearsall, who had not found a way to really shake out on the lineup quite yet. He is nursing a couple injuries, but oh my, he is definitely nursing one even now. He is officially, as Monday, released from the hospital. And I follow a little bit closely, obviously, as I'm a Niner fan. So X, Twitter, whatever you're calling it, and Instagram, I follow a lot of content creators. And so I did see that late Sunday. But just think about this, that as a rookie, you know, I had a chance to meet one of your rookies with the Tennessee Titans, Jason Lakeland. Great, funny guy. These rookies in the NFL go to these signings all the time. They're trying to make extra money, you know, and they go to these, you know, buy, sell, trade cards, local, you know, whatever. And supposedly there was a fight over a Rolex, and Slick Ricky wasn't having it, and he, you know, went after the guy and got shot, and the bullet passed through his chest, out his back. And there is footage that we've all seen by now, probably. He's walking to the ambulance, like, hey, I guess I should go, you know, get this checked out. Like, holy cow, dude! Like, unreal. Like, I'm sad as a fan that my first round pick can't play for quite some time, but I'm also like, holy cow, he's alive and he's okay. Like,
For sure.
I can't imagine, you know.
I've seen a lot of people trying to play armchair quarterback with this one. Like, oh, he was out of line for trying to wrestle the gun. Oh, he was this. Look, I'm going to say he looked into that kid's eyes and he thought, I'm getting shot either way. I think he did, and he did what he had to do, and he tried to wrestle away. From my understanding, unless it's just rumor, he ended up in the scuffle shooting the assailant as well.
That is what I heard as well.
I mean, so I think it's a 17-year-old kid in San Francisco. He's bold enough to try to snatch a Rolex from an NFL player. He's 17 years old. He knows, you know, I can probably get out of this. I mean, that's the world we're in today, right? These kids today, tomorrow does not matter to them. They live for the now. And I think Ricky Pearsall just looked at this kid. He knew, I'm getting shot either way, and I'm going to do what I can to survive. And that might be the reason why he is alive, because he went for the gun. I'm just being real. I mean, I probably would not do that. I'm going to probably hand over my stuff. But, I mean, you have a 50-50 shot each time. Somebody tries to rob you, they can let you go, or they can rob you because you're a witness. I mean, they can shoot you because you're a witness at that point. I mean, so I don't know what I would have done in that situation, and I'm definitely not going to pretend that I'm going to come down on someone and say that they're stupid for trying to wrestle away a gun or save his life, because I'm a firm believer, and that's probably why he's still alive.
Right. Just an unfortunate situation all around.
Mm-hmm.
Another unfortunate situation, Miles, tell us about what happened with the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Yeah, so you'll have to help me out with the name, because pronunciation is not my strong suit tonight.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Johnny Gaudreau?
Yeah, I think it's
Gaudreau.
Yeah.
Gaudreau
right.
sounds very hockey. Yeah. So, yeah, 10-year player in the NHL with the Flames and the Columbus Blue Jackets.
A good player.
Yeah, consistent. Had played over 70 games for his 10 years in the NHL. Sans COVID, but even the COVID year, he played all 56 games. Tragically struck on the New Jersey Turnpike by an alleged drunk driver. Him and his brother killed.
It's awful.
Day
before his sister's wedding too, right? Or their sister's wedding. Their sister's wedding. Excuse me.
Yes, dude. Like, momentous occasion. Like, you're getting here.
Well, and it just a couple things in society that just don't make sense to me. One of them being drinking and driving. Like, never that it was right in human history anyways, or at least the last 125 years we've had motor vehicles. But when you have taxis up in that part of the country, you still have taxis up there. You have Uber, you have Lyft, you have rideshare, so on and so forth. Like, what the hell is the point? Are you so lazy that, man, I really don't want to go back in the morning and get my vehicle? Okay, if you're going to be drinking, you shouldn't have anything going on the next morning anyways, because you got to be sobering up, going out, getting some grub, trying to feel better. So the fact that you're going to take everyone else's life, let alone your life, forget that. Everyone else's life out on the road into your hands, and then to try to selfishly try to duck, dip, dive, and dodge traffic, and then you collide with two bicyclists.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Now, obviously, stuff like this, unfortunately, happens all the time. We don't hear about it because it's not a professional player that's involved. But in this, how selfish. And then to see his wife respond to Johnny's wife, talk about, I'm not going to be mad about this. I'm not going to blame, anyone as she can, or blame God for, or whatever it might be. She just said, I'm just going to be grateful for the time I had with him. I had the greatest man in the world. I'm paraphrasing. You go find the quote yourself, what she said, but it was almost like magical is what I want to describe it as. Just the humility of her, not to lash out, as she definitely could. No one would blame her if she did. But just being so humbled enough to say, I'm just grateful for the time I had on earth with him. Never mentioned him being a hockey player, rock solid, consistent player. I believe put up 20 points between goals and assists last year. Played 81 games, I believe, started most of them. So it's a huge loss for the hockey community, and a bigger loss for the Columbus and, the city of Columbus and his family as well. Just absolutely tragic. Between that and then the whole thing with Pearsall getting shot, it's another example of why I hate social media. I use the crap out of it. We all know that. We all do. Obviously, as we're getting Sports Idiot Nation going. But within 7 seconds of that, it was turned into politics. And on both sides, whether it's about gun control or this certain political party can't run cities worth a damn. It's just unbelievable, the lack of humility, as I was talking about with Goudreau's wife, the lack of humility of people, and not thinking about those involved or the families involved, or, hey, is he okay? Hey, what stemmed this? What's going on with this kid and his family, the assailant, I mean, but turning it into politics. And look, everyone knows me. I'm all for people speaking. If it wasn't for the First Amendment, we wouldn't have this right here. But that doesn't mean that everyone should be talking. People, keep your damn mouth shut. And that's the biggest ills that we got in our society now. Everything's the peak of this country was the early 2000s. What happened in the early 2000s, the mid 2000s? Social media got popular. People, yep. I'm going to talk about it again, probably here in the next week or so, about how people just yap on social media. They can't keep their damn mouth shut. And I'm telling you, if you did this back 20, 25 years ago, say it to someone's face. If you said it to their face, you're going to get punched in the mouth.
Speaking of saying dumb shit, what about the driver? When he's talking to the police, they're like, "So you've been drinking, And he's like, "Yeah, I mean, I had five or six beers." It's just like, dude, not only are you a dumbass that should have been taking a ride share, they know you're obviously drunk, and you're just like, instead of just saying, "Yeah, I've been drinking," you're like, "Yeah, I had 6 beers." Like, come on, man. What are you doing behind a car, much less having 3 beers? I will say this to any of our followers. Yeah, excuse me. To any of our followers, whether it's Titans Idiot Nation, Sports Idiot Nation, look, I don't care if you send me an inbox at 1 a.m. and you are drunk and you need an Uber from East Nashville to wherever. I don't care what it is. I will pay for it, because I do not want anybody out there doing dumb shit like this. This guy's excuse for why he did that was that, "Oh, well, I thought the other driver was messing with me and blocking me from passing." It's like, no, dipshit. He was getting over so he could be far away from the bikers so he didn't cause an accident. I mean, it's just like, dude. And you would not have thought that if you weren't behind the wheel of a car drinking 6 beers. It's just, and look, I love to drink. I drink on the show. If I drink 6 beers, my ass is not driving. Okay? Never. It's just ridiculous, And yeah, I mean, to each his own. Of course, people are going to make dumb decisions because we're humans. But I was late to that party. I didn't even find out about the story until yesterday morning, and I felt like somebody had just gut punched me. It was just so tragic and so sad. And I don't even have a dog in that fight. I'm not a huge hockey fan. I wasn't too familiar with him and his brother, but I hate hearing any kind of story like that, whether it's just two guys that work at McDonald's or whether it's professional sports athletes. I mean, I hate hearing that. And that's all because somebody made a stupid decision to get behind a wheel of a car by pounding a bunch of beers. Just, I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to go into diatribe because we've all made dumb decisions, but I'm not going to make that decision. Just pathetic.
Yeah, definitely. Our hearts go out to all the people that we're not close to that situation, so our hearts go out to those that their hearts are close to that situation. Is the best that we can say. I mean, we hate dealing with. The moving to something that I hate hearing is I'm not that far from Chicago, where I live in Indiana, and I have a few connections, and I'm starting to get hounded by people from the White Sox organization who want me to try out for the team. And it's just getting to be just a lot, guys. And I'm just annoyed. Like, enough, dude. Like, I didn't even play Wildcat. Like, I don't know how much I'm going to help. Although I do feel... How do you, like... So what is the official record here? The franchise record, right? 31...
107.
107.
Yeah, so the
They have
prior
30 games to
record, 24 games to go. Get that. The franchise record for the White Sox in all their history, they go back well over 100 years. So remember the Black Sox, that was 105 years.
Sox.
That was 105 years ago with Shoeless Joe.
Oh, it feels like
100 years ago. And they were playing a lot of games back then. Franchise record 106 losses. As of yesterday, they dropped loss 107, and they have 24 games to go.
You can do it. You can do it, Chicago.
Just
we believe in you.
Unreal.
Do you guys want something, and do you guys really want this in perspective? So between today, September 2nd, and Thanksgiving, there's about 75 days. A little bit more than that. But between now and then, the White Sox could play 75 games and win them all. They could win all 75 games, go 75-0, and they'd still have a losing record.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Adam, what position were the White Sox trying to get you to try out for?
First base.
First base.
I can pick it. A little bit.
They asked me if I wanted to be the mascot. But,
you guys
told them I was busy. Told them I was too busy. Told them if they threw in some free tickets to the Titans-Bears game next week, I'd do it. And they couldn't even muster up the funds for that. They couldn't even muster up the funds for that. I mean, pathetic.
Yeah. Hey,
so
Chicago, what do you say? The Cubs are going to score 100 runs in 9 games. Did you see that? Here come the Chicago Cubs out of nowhere. Scoring like 97,000 runs. Yeah, no kidding. So another funny story in baseball, I don't know if you guys saw this. There's a famous clip of about 20 years ago of Kenny Lofton and JT Snow and the boys, San Francisco Giants. JT Snow rounding third, heading home, and almost barreling over a young Darren Baker, whose father was the manager, Dustin. And that kid was 2 to 3 years old. And what did he just do yesterday? Picked up his first major league hit. Because we wanted to make you feel just a little bit old.
Wow,
because those of you that remember a young Darren Baker just almost getting ran over by JT Snow, and JT Snow picking him up. I mean, it's crazy to think that was so long ago. And shout out to Darren Baker for getting his first major league hit. Very
was that
cool.
In the World Series against the Angels?
So I believe it was the National League Championship Series against. Man, who's that? Who was good in those days? Man, it's so hard to remember.
Unbelievably, the Cubs were.
Yeah. Good call.
Yeah. Up
Which
until Bartman screwed it.
Yeah,
man,
which was a
what
year
a
late.
documentary!
That was a year later. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was a year
when
later.
we talk sports documentaries, those 30 for 30s, man, I gotta tell you, and I know you guys love the, shout out to the one on RIP and McNair. These 30 for 30s are incredible. So yeah, hey, I'll admit today's show was a little jumbled. As you can see, I'm at the food court here in Vegas. Remember to follow on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, or X. The most fun way to watch is on YouTube. We're on Apple and Spotify. Before we get you out of here, Miles for sure has our idiots of the week.
All right, boys and girls, hide your moms, hide your dads, and hide your yoga mats, because this is Idiot of the Week. So, unfortunately, we've got another story coming out of New Jersey that involves another idiot. Now, former athletic director of a one Rutgers University, Pat Hobbs. About 3 weeks ago, he mysteriously resigned for health conditions, unreleased. He had been athletic director since 2015, had been pretty well respected as their basketball program made a couple NCAA tournaments, football program with Greg Schiano starting to come back. But what they're not known for is their women's gymnastics team. That's where things get a little interesting. So, in the last couple days, it was revealed that former athletic director, Pat Hobbs, is now under investigation by the state of New Jersey. Why? Well, it was revealed that he had an inappropriate, albeit consensual, relationship with the gymnastics coach. Found it a little odd how much he had been hanging around the gymnastics team, considering that it's an Olympic sport that doesn't bring in any revenue. And on top of that, Rutgers doesn't have a good gymnastics program. Upon initial investigation, that they found that there was an inappropriate relationship going on, they also discovered that the coach of the gymnastics team, and Umi Salim Beasley, fostered both a toxic and hostile, I guess those are kind of interchangeable, but those are the terms per NewJersey.com, fostered an environment that also was predicated on favoritism and retaliation. So, needless to say, she is on a leave now. Get further into the details. What was this inappropriate relationship? Well, yes, you already guessed it. Little boom boom going on between
It had a little secret stretching going on.
Yeah, so it's really weird. First, you hear reports of he's hanging around their practices more. He's going to all their meets. Well, an athletic director, he was going to the meets of every gymnastics competition when the team really wasn't faring that well. He was traveling with the team. One encounter was truly bizarre in, well, our own backyard in Nashville, Tennessee. Came down for a competition. He flew down with the team and was spotted going to a hot yoga outing with the coach. Working on those stretches. Yes, yeah. So athletic director with the female coach in a private hot yoga entanglement, let's say. A little bizarre. So more to come. Stay tuned, folks. This is going to, I think, blow wide open, and we're going to get the real story of why he resigned for health conditions just a few weeks before everything started to unravel. It's gotten up to the governor's office. Governor Murphy of New Jersey says, I have no further comment at this time.
Well, I'll say one thing. They should have known something was up once they saw him going into a hot yoga class, because, I mean, I'm not going to a hot yoga class unless I'm getting something in return, okay?
You're dang right. You're dang right.
So,
what kind of idiot
and
do you
plus,
think you
I
take
mean,
us for?
It's like 200 degrees in there, so no wonder he has health issues.
Yeah, well, it's 200 degrees as we speak here in beautiful Sin City for all you sinners.
I got my hoodie on.
Hoodie
Hey,
season.
it's fall.
Hey, for once, it's not 100
September,
degrees in my
basically
barn,
winter.
so
Yeah.
I don't care it was 100 degrees Fahrenheit last week. Don't matter.
Sin barn.
It's fall, baby.
Yeah, officially September. So again, be sure to catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Spotify has the video, which is always cool. The most fun way to watch is, of course, on YouTube. Follow us on all social medias. And, man, this is... I want to, go interview some people, but I also don't want to get kicked out. So I am going to be here for a few more days and would prefer to just ditch you guys and go play blackjack. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So for Mr. T.I. and Miles Behind Enemy Lines, it is I, your fearless, sinful, Sin City
idiot leader.
Yes, idiot. And we will catch you Thursday. Quick reminder, new episodes always available to you every Monday and Thursday. So we will catch you Thursday.
Hold on. Don't bounce off yet. We got to tell them what Thursday's about, though. Thursday, we got an action-packed episode for you. We are giving you a preview of every single division in NFL, talking about every team. Trust me, got a special guest. You guys won't want to miss it.
Yep. Boom. So, again, catch us Thursday, every Thursday, and every Monday. So, we'll see you soon. Thank you for hanging out with us in Vegas. I'll give you an update of how many grand I'm up.
Don't rub it in.
Okay, all you sinners, follow Sports Idiot Nation on TikTok, X, and Instagram. Like us on Facebook, and remember, the most fun way to watch us is on YouTube every Monday and Thursday. Be sure to hit the notification bell so you can be updated when new content drops. Remember, the podcast can also be found on the usual suspects of Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Always remember, don't be an idiot.
Sinner.